Good morning. Happy Monday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. Okay, so kind of an odd day. This is a holiday. Please take into consideration those people that are most important. And those are the people that we celebrate, the people that have done things for us, given everything, and continue to do so. And so I appreciate all of you very much, and I hope that everyone else does as well. Okay, I'm going to dive right into a Q&A here from Michael, or Mike. Mike says, I came across your YouTube video on the Camporini Deadlift as a hip mobility drill prior to squats. Can you explain what's happening at the pelvis and sacrum on the back side leg and the front side leg? Are you regaining posterior expansion on the back leg just above the pelvis? So really good question. And I think that you're already kind of on track there, Mike, as far as what your thought process is. But let's go ahead and let's break this down just a little bit more as to what's going on prior to why we would select this activity, and then a little bit on the execution as far as the mechanics are concerned. If you have any questions about how it's executed, just go to the YouTube channel and check out that variation of the staggered stance deadlift. But so if we look at pelvic mechanics, and we'll pick on the left side because it's easy. So if I have a posterior compressive strategy here that closes this space and pushes the pelvis into an orientation where it's going to be turning to the right. So I've got a lot of concentric orientation here. What I'm going to see from a measurement standpoint, I'll see a limited traditional hip internal rotation measure. I'll also see limited hip flexion and straight leg raise in many of those cases. And so what I need to do is recapture some eccentric orientation here, and I need to reorient the pelvis into a left turn to allow me to capture full movement options. And so that's when we would select something like the Camporini Deadlift. Because of the hip position, so we're going to approximate a 90 degree position of the pelvis in this forward position at the bottom of the Camporini Deadlift. So what we're actually doing is we're trying to create that eccentric orientation in this lower posterior aspect. Now, because of the way we hold the weight and because of the position of the weight, we're also creating expansion above the pelvis. So we're talking about below the level of the scapula and the posterior rib cage. So we also need to expand that as well, because I've got that iterative effect of this area of the pelvis being analogous to that area of the thorax. So as I move into the deadlift position, I'm going to be oriented to this 90 degrees. That immediately biases me towards an exhalation strategy. So I'm going to get a concentrically oriented pelvic diaphragm. But the cool thing, because of the shift in the pelvis this way, and because of the internal rotation that I'm creating, I'm going to open up that space here. So I'm going to actually create that space. So that gives me the eccentric orientation that I'm looking for under those circumstances. Now, Mike, you asked about the other leg. So the cool thing about the other leg is that chances are, if I had this compressive strategy here, I had the expansive strategy on the opposing side, and that's what helped me turn the pelvis to the right. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a compressive strategy here that opposes the expansive strategy on the other side, so it creates my turn. So again, I'm sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul here. I'm compressing the right side to create the expansive strategy on the left side, and so then I get my return of my internal rotation. I should see the change in the straight leg raise, and I should see the change in the hip flexion as well. I'm also going to get carryover into the upper extremity, because the chances are those measures were also limited in the upper extremity. So it's kind of a nice little big bang exercise. It's also got a limited excursion in regards to its stagger, which would prevent me from moving into a compensatory strategy. So if I was to try to move somebody into like a split stance or a half kneeling position, chances are under those circumstances of the initial compressive strategy with the concentric orientation and lower posterior aspect of the pelvis, lower posterior aspect of the rib cage, I would fail under those circumstances, because I would immediately move them into their compensatory strategy. And in many cases, that's why exercise selection is so important, is that you have to respect what strategies these people are using, so you don't push them farther into their compensations. And then if the goal is to restore ranges of motion, we got to keep them within those active constraints. So Mike, I hope that answers your question for you. Again, if you have any further questions in regards to that activity, there is a video on YouTube. There's actually a couple representations, I believe, using that exercise to recapture hip internal rotation. So check those out. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Go to askbillhartman@gmail.com. Have an outstanding Wednesday. Finish your coffee, grab a workout, go for a walk. It's a beautiful day here in lovely Indianapolis. So we're going to take advantage of that today. And I will see you tomorrow.